Hi there. So today I want to talk about witchcraft and magic, and I don't know where I will go with this, but I speak like freely in these videos, obviously. But I think that, oh gosh, I just need a blanket. I feel like I get cold now. Wait a second. So then I don't start cough as much, maybe. So oh, this was cozy. Yeah, so it may trigger some people. I mean, if you want to listen to these, if you come across, I mean, no one who want that listens still to my channel, but if you're new in some way and come across my ASMR, I focus more on what I believe is true and that sort of things. And maybe that is not always the most comfortable. And obviously, I'm in denial quite a lot, or have been, since you can't be an addict without having that part also. But yeah, so. And also, if there are any comments on my, I didn't see any comments now, but I don't read them, but I can see if there are any. And then this I found that is quite, I think, suitable for the former topic where I mainly mentioned my path, which, like, it's like Russian dolls maybe or something. I mean, they include each other, kind of. It's not that they exclude each other, these paths that I'm on. Yeah. So I want to talk about magic today, and we will see where I go with this. And witchcraft then. And I mean, I may dive deep into and talk about each of my paths specifically, but now maybe, I don't know for how long. I can't decide that beforehand, obviously. But maybe for a year, I don't know for how long. I will focus on this, and as I said, it's the same path still. Much of the practices are similar, and so on. For example, when it comes to Munaki, when they, the description actually, they in that specific example, it was described as witchcraft as seen as something evil, which it maybe is seen as in some parts of the world, even more so than the Western, but. It doesn't have to be. It's the same practice, sort of, depending on what you do. So there it was described that if you, for example, want to heal, you track the pathways of health in someone, the energy body, for example, or you can track also back in time and so on. But still, that's what you do, and then you strengthen those paths, and so you strengthen the health of that person. And you do working as a shaman then. And if you then want to harm someone, you do the exactly same thing. So it's the same technique, but you don't. What differs is that you then track the pathways of disease and you strengthen those. For example, if you would want to harm someone or something like that. So energetically, that is, if you work. You can work in many ways with herbs and with other practices also, but energy working. So I know that witchcraft as a word and witch even have a bad rep, but I think it's mostly because of fear and control. Yeah, that is what it have mainly been about, as it still is today. Not only that then, but in many occasions or situations. So yeah, thank you for listening to me anyways, because I ramble so much. Maybe I will focus in now when I'm working at the direction of the Jaguar when it comes to the Moonlight Key, and it's also about closing those back doors that you have, maybe I have had, and so that's so liberating, because I've kept small little openings to be very flexible in certain areas where it, for example, my sugar addiction or whatever, so that that could lead me back, obviously, then every time. So to close those back doors to certain things that you really don't want anymore, it takes no, I don't know if it takes a lot. It takes some preparation, I think, to be ready to do so, and also to really want, to really wish to look on things as they truly are, and and feel whatever, even when it comes to those kinds of things. When you take something away that have like protected you from yourself or your own feelings or thoughts or what it is, then you have to be ready to meet yourself fully. So, and also when it comes to this certain quote then, or my whole path that I feel is the same path, although it have broadened, let's say, or the concepts of it, also the practices of it, obviously, but or deepened, you could say. But it have also been described sometimes as, if you, like, I grew up in this little village. I mean, we traveled and so on, but I mainly knew this little street, and that was my whole world, mainly. And it was okay. It was lovely, actually. But then gradually I realized, oh wow, there is this path is, you can stretch it in either direction, and you can go further, and wow, there is a whole world, and wow, even the universe, if you lift off from this physical space, and and also the inner earth, let's say, there is so much to discover. And doing so, maybe you don't have to cling to those concepts or wordings that was before, or maybe it even keep you stuck in some way. Maybe not, but to me it felt like it kind of I felt a lack when I moved into some other direction. I felt that there was something there that I personally at that time needed anyways. So, but magic then. And maybe I will not correct this, but maybe I will describe it in a different way in some other, or when I think about it more or so on, in a different way. But now, as I just think of it, magic, first of all, there are many misconceptions about this. It's not supernatural in the sense that it's beyond the natural order. It's within it. It's part of who we are and part of our abilities to use. It's nothing that overrides, let's say, the physical laws of nature, if you say. This is inherent in is that the right word? Inherited? No, intrinsic. No, but it's in everything that is this disability, not disability, this ability. Yeah. So and also maybe, okay, I interrupt myself now, but also I'm really, really grateful for all these paths. I mean, I feel so strong love to each of these things that I've come in contact, even other things that I haven't talked about right now. There are many things that I've come in touch with that I haven't talked about, and there are those things that I would rather avoid. I don't say that I have to be absolutely wrong for others, but there are those paths that are also within these kinds of paths that I've been in that exist as well. But there are those paths where it's very obvious that it's run from a controlling money perspective, let's say, and money and power are like the goal, like as in the world as at large, like. But but back to the whole to the whole magic. But I'm grateful for each of these. They are like the treasures and very precious to me, all of these paths. So therefore I don't want to exclude talking about them, although I know it upsets some people. So magic, anyways. It's an ability to create changes. create changes, yeah, really. That's what it is, maybe you could say. And one difference in witchcraft or Wicca was that it was encouraged to make those changes to your own benefit. And that was difficult for me actually at the time, because you have learned like that would be something wrong to concentrate on your own benefit. Maybe especially when it comes to that. But there is a balance there too. If you get totally self-centered, you lose out on a lot. But if you also exclude yourself, that's an imbalance too. So anyways, so yeah, you can work with many tools and with much with both symbolic things and physical things that have that same vibration or add to your specific goal with their medicine, you can say, if you talk native language kind of. But coughing all the time, so I'll stop now on that. Yeah. So what you do in magic mainly is that you also learn to shift consciousness, to shift your focus into a different kind where you're able to both visualize and all those things, and you can, as I said, you can add herbs, you can add all kinds of things that would strengthen not only your own focus, but also the energy in that sort of, if you do a spell, for example, or if you do a greater kind of ritualistic magic. And so it is about learning how to change your consciousness so that you can work in a different so you can work in different realms, you could say, and and then also to be able to work with energy, so you can raise energy and direct it towards your goal or towards your spell or to your, whatever it is you do. And I guess that's mainly it. But you need to be able to do these things. You need to be able to focus. You need to be able to also sometimes working with, let's say it, unseen forces, and tap into both the nature itself, and this is also what we do in shaman workings, and to other or what you would call them, but gods or goddesses or other helpers, whether it's nature spirits or what you work with, but or angels or so, and to summon that to strengthen your or ancestors, not the least. I've talked about this many times, that if you, let's say, harm someone or want to harm someone, then that person also have this endless line of ancestors that would be protective of that one, no matter what they thought of the person, maybe in life if they are close by. Everyone aren't here in the physical close like that, but there is a certain bond between, there are bonds anyway without being blood related, but when it comes to those who actually come through us physically, there is this is at least my experience and opinion, and I'm not saying that anything that I say must be right. That's just how I see it right now. Anyway, so they will always be there, and if we would ask them, they will certainly be there. But anyways, so yeah, it's good to, I mean, it's not good to anyhow do any harming magic, but I mean, overall it's not good to harm anyone. And you don't have to add in magic. I mean, it's not a good thing. Sometimes maybe necessary, who knows. But as a protection or whatnot. But then I would suggest to be in close communication with their ancestors as well. Because there is strong protection, and not only ancestors but guides and so on. Because there is a strong protection. Everyone have that around them, or no matter they know it or not. And also everyone have their paths. So even those other paths that maybe, like, there are certain things that I don't really see positively, let's say. Those that are run very much from the top down, and also they fool the ones that believe in their faith, let's say, and also much money is included in those various things, and even that path can be perfect for someone at a certain time, because that's where they learn the most and they grow the most in their consciousness still, let's say, by, as they used to say sometimes, by default. I mean, even if it's a wrong turn, let's say, or it's a path you wouldn't maybe recommend, it could still be so let's say, when I look back, certain things that have happened to me, I would not want them, and I wouldn't want them for anyone else, and so on, but I wouldn't unwant them, let's say. I mean, as what have been, I wouldn't want to go through it again, and it wouldn't be a conscious choice if I could make that, and so on, even back in time then. But still, I'm here now. The things that I have learned, the things that I have, the person I am, everything comes together in that. So I'm actually grateful for everything. Yeah, not every day, every second. Yeah, every day I think, but not every moment. No. But anyways, so magic. That's very natural, and you can raise your ability to do this to very high degree. I mean, just to realize that it's possible, that half shocked some people if they start to do this. So therefore also it's a gradual process, because if you do that very quickly and realize a lot of things, it will turn everything very much upside down in your worldview and everything. So, is there anything else to say about? Yeah, there is a lot more to say about magic, but I wonder if I briefly should describe it then. And how do you raise energy then? There, you can do it in many kinds of ways. You can focus on that, also just visualizing it in various ways, however you think. You can visualize it in colors, like getting brighter, or fire. You can visualize in any kind of way you want, or you can use singing. You can use drums. You can use dancing. You can use. You can do it in any kind of way where you feel that the energy is strengthened, let's say, and built up. And usually, in witchcraft, you do something quicker and quicker and quicker then, and then at a certain point you release that energy towards a certain focus. But there are also, you can find a lot of, maybe if you Google videos or so on, there are spells and you can do them, or sigils. There are many things you can work with to add to your focus. And there are those also. I have never had a book of shadow. Now I kind of have a little bit of a one, but I have had those just where I've scribbled into certain things that I thought was important to remember or whatever, or just on paper, like notes pads, like whatever I have done, what date and so on, if I have done a sort of potion or something. but I have been quite unorganized, but I see also that there is a reason to that. So I would not recommend, especially not online, but also not maybe in a book. I mean, it's nothing wrong doing so, but I wouldn't recommend letting anyone see your magic. Unless you work together then towards the same goal. That's a different thing, but then you need to know that they are really truly at the same page. So therefore it's really important, if you work in a coven or in a group setting, to know their others' intents very well. So, and also I heard it was cricket song, Lunar Wisdom. No, maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe it was like a private thing. So maybe I shouldn't say that, by the way. I take it back. I will just talk about something else. But yeah, it's important anyhow. It's important that everyone then have also learned. If you are the one who know how to work energy, and then others don't really have practiced or are trained in that much, then you will kind of have to pull everyone else, and that will be kind of exhausting for your energy. So therefore also you can't like include everyone in your own practices also, but also that there are so many reasons to keep it from others' influence, and so therefore I wouldn't recommend. You can obviously, if you write and use other there are those other like witchy, not runes, but letters that you can use instead. If you need to write something down, then people at least have to decode them first, or for yourself, if you remember, you can do your own sigils and so on for things, of course. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend you writing down what to do and your aims and your goals and so on very much. General things like, I don't know, caring for a sick lake, or I don't know, there are various things that may not be so personally still close to you, so that it is bothersome if people would know about it. But otherwise, I suggest you do it, keep that secret actually, because there is, computers can be hacked, people can find things and read, and I don't know, I just think it should be not available to anyone else. So what I write in that, I can write things that I've picked up in the psychic sense, or information, or insights when it comes to certain things, like let's say tarot or whatever. Those things, that's the things that I write down in my sort of book of shadows. Yeah. But I'm so glad that I've been quite unorganized when it comes to recording. It does have a really good value though. For example, if you do, this is not like, but in a way, maybe you can say it's magic, but if you do let's say not a tarot reading, but if you use tarot in a spell or something, if you write down what you have done and your intent and your date and so on, then you can see later on much clearer how it worked and what was the ingredients, let's say, that worked. So it's good to be organized. You can much clearer see the efficiency, maybe. But then again, if you work with energy and these things, you will see it anyways. You will recognize it clearer than you thought was possible. So, what else can be said? Magic. And it's obviously not like magical tricks or so. And also, I don't believe that you can influence everything. And I mean, yeah, we are still, we are not like, what is the word for that? All inclusive, no, but all powerful, like. But we have a lot more power than we think most of the time. So, yeah. And also a lot more help than we think. But it also have a lot to do with intent. As I said, my intent have been good. My aims have been very positive, mainly. And so the connections I've gotten in the spirit realm and so on, they have always been very, I mean, I have felt super safe. I have never been scared of them. But if you work from a different intent, then you will also come across other vibrations, let's say, or other spiritual realms, I would say, that may be not so always fun to work with, or you really need to know what you do. So you should always be careful doing these things. Also inviting, I mean, the sacred circle, if you I mean, they talk about that sometimes, about in various traditions as the place in between the worlds, where you then can invite certain energies in, let's say, or spirits, or what you say. And doing these kinds of work, you can do it in much briefer, sweeter ways, let's say, but you can also work it more like a ceremonial way. And these are real things happening, and it's very strong, and you need to know how to, I mean, you need to build your ability to both perceive but also to digest actually it, and also know how to communicate with these forces and how to release it in a good way. And I also personally think it's not very good to mix too many things together that come from different traditions, and in that same, let's say, if you do a ritual and have a sacred circle, then if you would invite many different spiritual energies from different cultures, times, or whatever, that can be a little bit strange. It depends. As I said, I've worked with Kuan Yin quite a lot, and she can never cause any disruption or anything like that. She can be anywhere, let's say. But yeah, that is something to be aware of if you work magic in that sense. So yeah, I don't know if I even described it very well now, magic. But it's real. It's really, really efficient. And I make a difference when I think about it. I don't know if this is an actual difference in how you would describe it. But to me, magic is like, of course you work with your energy and the inner and so on, but you are like still here and now, although you see into other realms and communicate and so on. But in shaman workings, then I journey and do work mainly. But now also in Munaki I do practical things as well. But the natural things that I had, the shamanic things that I felt that I always had with me, although not trained by anyone, it was something I knew I had ability to do within. But also a little bit more dangerous to do so, because I go there with my all my energy, working then with several maybe of my totems and so on. So, but still, I don't do that recklessly. I really think about if I want to take that sort of risk, that it still is to do so. to influencing. It's the same thing, but yeah. So it's a little bit different how I view it, but still it's sort of the same path. But I also wanted to mention another thing here. I'm not sure how to get into this, but also there are various... Yeah, I will just jump into it. Just head first, let's say. But sex magic is one form of magic. Obviously, it's life energy. It's a very strong form of magic. But I think you should be really careful with that. I mean, you should probably be careful with that energy overall. It's a very powerful energy. Also, as I talked about the impact it have on our auras and so on. More so even, I think, women, because we have that receptiveness, let's say. So yeah, when it comes to that, I think you should be careful not I mean, even with yourself, you can do sex magic obviously with yourself, and then it's the same. That actually describes maybe magic best, actually, because it's about raising energy and then releasing energy. So that at the climax, you would then release your energy towards an intent. But it's still many people, and you can do it with someone else, or you can even do it in a ritual setting with several people. But this is such a strong energy, and many people don't control it extremely well, whether they think so or not. And also there are so many people have all maybe of us, more or less. I like that what Teal said. This is a quote by Teal I have up here. Somewhat what she said about healing sexuality, not healthy sexuality, because maybe we all in some way or another, we are on a path where that is a process, the same process as becoming whole, integrating our whole selves. So anyways, I think that is something to wait with until you understand the other general practices of energy, especially with someone else. And in the coven that I was taught, it was more like Santeria or Candomblé. It was like you get possessed by those spirits you worked with, or gods or goddesses or so on. And if you go so much into those, it's not like... I mean, from the outside, that's another thing. If someone would see you do magic of any sort, they would still not know what you're doing very much, because they wouldn't be in that... They wouldn't be able to see it, really, actually, also, and you know your intent and everything. But so it may look like a theater of sorts and nothing, But depending on how deep you go into it, and sometimes energies also take over, it can be really dangerous to and harm if you do that with others without knowing what you do. But depending on how. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I think it's wonderful probably to do. Haven't done it with anyone actually, intently like that. But it's the life force itself, and I wonder how far I should go with this, really. I just want to say that anyways, that it's good to... that is a very strong kind of magic, but it's also, let's say, flammable, you could say. Yeah, explosive maybe you could also say. But it could really go wrong as well. So you need to know what you do. And when it comes to yourself, that is also because you meet your shadows, whatever deep spiritual path you go into, actually, you will meet yourself, and it, it's just so intimate and so loaded in many ways. So therefore also it could be a good idea to wait with those kinds of practices until you are familiar with working magic in other ways. And you can obviously also contain your sexual energy, but that in itself, there is the practice of, as I said, the building up and releasing, but there is also the containing of that energy as a magical practice to strengthen your focus and using it magically, but without releasing it, because it gets stronger and stronger. But that is also practice that can go quite wrong, and it can be other ideas that we have in our minds, like denial, for example, or towards ourselves, or those it can be built on shame and whatever, other kinds of things. And actually that was really a little bit weird. Teal said that in a video she talked about these priests that live in full celibacy also with themselves, and how they, it goes totally wrong. Sometimes it pops out or up, and usually then in pretty screwed up ways, like those who abuse those boys that work for them and whatnot. And the thing, the strange thing there was not that she talked about. I think she laughed afterwards, like giggled, and I think she giggled maybe to something else she said. But when she talks about abuse being directed towards her, she don't giggle about that anyways. But still, I think that's true, that when it really gets out of whack, that is when there is a lot of suppression going on, many times anyways. So I don't think you should play with that side either, at least not to begin with, when it comes to magical workings, because of this strong energy. What else to be said about that? Oh gosh, there is so much you can say about magic overall, but I wonder if I should talk a little bit about my own experiences. Maybe so. And I'm glad that I have not messed with that too much in a ritual setting with others anyways. And so it can be healing and so on to do by yourself, obviously. You can use that energy and direct it, obviously, to something beneficial or good or healthy. So, but it's better than the other way around anyways. And always you work with that energy. All we do with energy is the same energy. So, but yeah, I mentioned this before, but I was abused as a little kid, and I was just 3 years old. That's the time when I was youngest that I remember. And I didn't have like those suppressed memories, and so that I always remembered, and some other things as well. But I did not know what exactly. I was little, so I didn't understand what happened until way later. And certain patterns that I had and behaviors and so on when I was little was weird, and I knew that, and I felt ashamed for those kinds of things. But I didn't understand until I got older that must have a source, and I realized these other things, and also others who had been exposed to sexual abuse by same people came forth and told me about that and so on. So I realized that, okay, this is obviously what happened then. And I was also when there have been certain traumatic events where I've been at a place just one or a few times, I can see those. I can kind of draw up. I mean, I remember exactly how the house or apartment or so on looked like or so. But yeah, I mean, not everyone luckily have those kinds of things in their rucksack, so to speak. But it took me a long time. I didn't know. So maybe even if you, I mean, that's why you shouldn't go too quickly into these kinds of things also, because maybe you don't recall all these things, or don't, there may be scars we are not aware of. And the more we work with magic and these kinds of various consciousness levels, we also tap into our subconscious mind, and things will pop up. So it's not dangerous, but we should do it like gradual and in a pace and a way that we feel good and safe doing. Because that in itself can be really strong and also distressing. Or stressing, you can say, maybe, yeah. So anyways, what happened then in my case was that I don't want to, as I said, with other experiences as well in my life, I wouldn't have changed it now if I am who I am, and everything have had its something. Some people also say that things that you have, maybe the worst things also that happen to you, may be the things you are here to help heal, I'm not saying this to anyone else, that they should think like this. That would be weird, but in my own case, I think so. I think it can be transformed into wisdom, into compassion, into understanding, and so forth. Anyways, and you need to be pushed quite far to be compassionate and understanding with certain people. So anyways, when I was older, it was like when I was maybe around 14 or so on, you couldn't say that I was like, what is the word for that? Like, yeah. There is this, some people who were around at that time, or even when I was a few years older, I was quite wild and a little bit aggressive, you could say, at the time. But I was really numb. I had numbed myself very much with my emotions and physically as well. So, as I talked about, I was super logical. And not in others' eyes maybe, but I used my thoughts to all the time. I didn't filter things and try to understand things through my emotions or my body. I kind of ignored my body very extremely, so that even when I didn't feel physical pain, if someone even I was not like bullied or something, but there were those who tried things just because I said I can decide not to feel pain. So they took a huge chunk of my hair, just pulled it. And afterwards, when I thought back at that, many years afterwards, I could feel the pain. But at the time, I could just decide not to feel it. And in many other ways. So I had this ability to kind of totally shut off. Also emotionally then. So, but there was still, I was curious at all kinds of things, and had some relationship there with someone, and it was I won't go into that, but anyways, they were kind of worried about me in school, and so not promiscuous is the word, but I wasn't really, because it was the only one for several years there, but anyways, in one way maybe because the exploration went all overboard. But anyways, there was this man also, since I was like, they didn't understand what to do with me, I guess, those teachers and whatnot, and that was like probably quite destructive, and yeah, and I didn't know. I didn't remember or really. Rather, I didn't probably want to take it in, the things that had happened to me. And then when sexuality was awakening, that became more troublesome to me without me understanding that fact. But there was this man trying to have some talks with me. I trusted him to some degree, but then he was an older man, and I was like, 14 and a girl then, at least as many perceived me. I couldn't even see myself as a human many times. I saw myself as just, I don't know, odd, I guess, in some many ways. But I knew how others saw me anyway. So, yeah. So I know I drift now, but anyways, he asked me, "Oh, do you get anything out of it?" I remember, and I said yes, I like too quickly also. but I also would never have shared these kinds of things with that man, although among many he was one that I trusted more than others, and he have been really, he have saved my life afterwards as well. He spent the night talking to me when I was like, I don't know, what was I then, 22, 21, when it was really, I was really in a critical place, and he helped me survive, actually. So it was really good, the contact with him overall. But that was like why I would never have talked about with him about these things. But I didn't know what it was to get anything out of it. I had no clue what it was at the time. So and then I was so outspoken. I was really like a kind of a, I don't know, tough, but I was loud and outgoing and all that thing. But I was really dissociated from my body and emotions, aside from anger, I guess, because I was angry at times, really furious. So anyways, but I didn't understand much about this. But what started happening at that time was that I got really bad nightmares regarding abuse and sex and stuff, and I didn't share those with anyone, but and I tried to just shut them away, but they went on and on. And then when I was about 20, I started to actually realize that things had happened to me that I didn't know before. So, and then a long process started with kind of as Shetil talks about then, the healing of this. And to me, that was like patterns. I mean, I have been self-harming, cutting myself and all stuff in the arms, and so. But and it was not to harm myself, it was to soothe myself, to relax, and to just not the sadness or the anxiety was so great, so it made sort of a relief to harm myself. But also in that sort of sense, I had those patterns of mindset that I didn't want to have, but it was like compulsively drawn to certain ways of thinking that was also not very healing. And that was very much also in the direction of self-harming, and also combined with a lot of shame, which was also not that I was ashamed of it as such, but it was like in those patterns in my mind, and also related to there was other things, like natural things, like going to the bathroom, those kinds of things that were also very mixed into it, that I still I don't have sort of shame and those kinds of things, but sort of a stress still regarding to things that happened, and so when I was younger. And so if I, for example, this is very intimate. Sorry if anyone can't hear this, but this is nothing to me really to talk about actually. But then if I also, I have this thing about going to the bathroom. So I often stress, kind of. I don't have any shame or that kind of stuff anymore, but I do have the sort of stress still regarding it. So usually I finish, not this, I don't mean in sexual sense now, but like before I'm done, so I have to like go back, or it's irritating that I do that, but I know that it's part of that pattern of it's part of a pattern of abuse, you can say, mainly. And I mentioned one, the one that I remember there when I was 3. He was a bus driver, and his daughter, he abused her later on until she was 13, I think. And she had been open with that a lot, but afterwards I didn't know that until she was, I don't know when she talked about it first, when she was maybe 25 or something. I never knew anything about that before, but I remember that situation and so on. And then I got to know, when I was 30, someone told me where it was and who it was, because I remember how it looked like and everything, but I hadn't any clue that it was her dad at the time, and where they lived at the time and all that. But I don't have any wish to harm, he have passed already, and there are, and that's why I can talk about him. If he was alive, I wouldn't, because there are those who want to harm others, especially those kinds, and to some little degree I can understand that, but at the same time, I don't know, I don't want to anyways. I want to prevent that bad things would happen to others, of course, but I don't see any reason to there was also another, she's a psychologist that I went to several years. She worked with this solution focus and stuff, and I remember how I was still, I think that is quite weird. She said that I started to talk about certain of these things, and then I will go back to the whole magic or something, but now I just wanted to talk about this because this was so hidden from my own view, and it had have taken quite a long time to start to heal these things. Although I started kind of a long time ago, it have been a very long process, and I'm not saying everyone, as I said, have experienced similar things, but at the same time, many are not very totally comfortable and at ease with that part of themselves, and so on anyways. And it's awesome if you are, and then you maybe can, but still start when it comes to magic with other areas anyways, I would assume, or I would recommend rather. But that psychologist, I also felt every time I talked to, not that I've talked to many about this, but I've been on the kind of treatment, or I've been seeking help because I felt so bad and had a hard time surviving both my addictions, but also my how I felt, and so I needed to find a way to function actually. And I felt they were always scared to go there, so I held back a lot because I felt they can't deal with certain things. It's too tough for them, it's too heavy for them to carry, so I will just not talk about that. And maybe it was, in that case, maybe it was because they work in a certain it's called solution focus, so they focus on that rather than things that may have happened or so but still, she said once to me that when it comes to that, I always see two victims, and that was totally weird to me. I wonder what is wrong with her, if someone abuses a kid and a grown-up, and how is that two victims? I was really upset about that, but then I can see that maybe, something is obviously wrong, but that is also when it comes to Teal and how she talks about it. Sometimes I wonder. She talks about all kinds of things. Mass murderers, all kinds of things, and how she kind of tune into that, and then she can sort of get an understanding of the depth of their kind of desperation or whatever. And I'm sorry how I sound now, because I sound like angry or mean, I don't know. But thing is, that's awesome, and maybe it's right. But also I think there are levels to that, and obviously they may not understand that at all or feel that at all. And also it could be her need, like a Stockholm Syndrome thing, her need to have an explanation, to find sort of a resolution, and to not see them as bad. Not that we should. I don't think that's a wonderful idea to go around thinking people are bad. It seems like that it could be the case that she needs so very much to resolve these things, so she projects what she needs to see in those extreme cases. Because my experience is not the same, although I haven't been in everyone's shoes, obviously, and not been them in their shoes, obviously. But to me, yeah, I don't know. I mean, beneath all the layers and all that, maybe that is so, and I cannot say that it's not. And obviously, as I said, something is wrong, and there must have been something, some hurt or something must trigger certain behaviors. I'm quite convinced of that myself, but still I have a hard time to see that. And I thought it was really like a mocking thing to say that, or like horrible thing to say that there are two victims. Then how can that be? Yeah, really upsetting still, kind of. And I do understand those who get so upset so they want to harm someone. And that is another reason not to expose people in that sense. Because if you don't want to harm, And I also think about this girl whose dad did things to me at that early age. She loves her dad. That's the problem. There are certain things she absolutely loves with him, so if you would harm him, now he's not around, but then she would also be more harmed than she already is. And how is that a good thing? I think it was Ephemeral Rift who wanted people to hang at the center of town publicly, those who had done certain things like that. And yeah, that's the way of seeing it. You have to have, I can also get that to some degree, but I don't see how that could heal or really help. But yeah, because that would absolutely, for example, hurt her. So I don't know. Yeah, anyways, also later on, when I was older then, because this was like kind of messed up in my life, in a way then, and also this, there were then certain various strange behaviors going on when I was older also. When I was grown up, and also those guys or men were grown up. And I tried to figure out, I tried to understand those kinds of behaviors, and not only my own, but also however others could be like. And I wanted to think that everyone meant well. That was a very wrong perception. Anyway, so and that same psychologist, she said that, oh, that's a misunderstanding. When I described certain situations to her, she said, oh, that's misunderstandings, because they misunderstand what do you mean, various things, when I know for totally fact that is absolutely wrong. But maybe she could not. Maybe she had her defenses, or maybe she don't. Maybe that person she talked about, in that case, that could probably have been like that. But in the situations I experienced, that was absolutely not the case. They were very aware, and their intent weren't good, let's say, and that was no care in the world for me in those situations. So and so it was very weird to get that response also to that, as if, okay, I drift way far from magic here, but but anyways, yeah, but later on also I talked with another person, a co-worker there, and she thought as I thought, that this is absolutely totally, this is about control, this is about power, it's about many other things, but it was certainly not a mistake. And so it was good to get that validation from someone else who saw what I saw when I told those certain things. And although I knew myself seeing certain other people's behaviors. So I had this kind of weakness anyways, or the dissociation, you could say, from my little self, that I left far behind there as young, very young. And so there were those who knew how to exactly kind of get in between, how can you say, they knew how to sort of trap that little self-me in situations, you could say, yeah, where I was absolutely defenseless, yeah, and so, but I've learned to understand those parts better, and also learned to see others better, and also met really, really wonderful guys that have, we all have all our various sides, but more well-meaning ones, if you could say. It's one thing to be self-centered, and it's one thing to be mean, that's the difference too. But then when it comes to the whole evil, I don't believe in, when it comes also to magic and witchcraft and all that, I don't believe in evil. I don't believe in hell or devils or that sort. Maybe actually demons nowadays. I didn't before. But I wonder, when I see people, that's when I start to believe in demons. Because I've never actually met demons, as I would say, in the spirit realm. But when it comes to people, I've seen them being almost like ridden or driven by something else than themselves. It's almost like something have taken over their I don't know. So that they don't seem to choose even themselves. They seem to be just I don't know how to describe that, but yeah, anyways, yeah, what would demons be then? Like lower entities in the spiritual realm, yeah. And obviously, in that sense also, they don't have huge power compared, since they have that lower vibration. But they aren't powerless though. But I don't think you need to fear that. You need to be in that sort of vibration to work with it then. And I don't know. I don't work with them, so I don't know. Some would call those that I work with for that, though. So it's the same there. Better not to mention, maybe. But it's in the mindset of those who see it that way. Anyway, so since I have had this very I'm still grateful for my path. It sounds maybe weird, that too, then. But I mean, yeah, I wish to experience love and intimacy in a way that when being rid of those blockages and those defenses and those stuck thought patterns and whatever, and I'm liberated very much from all of that. And I thought that could never be the case. I never thought you could, actually. I mean, how do you loosen that when it's like stuck in your mind? But it is possible. And knowing that, it takes a great deal. I mean, you need to work with yourself and you need to have that focus, though. And you need to, first of all, maybe stop being judgmental towards yourself. I think that is crucial. And in that case, I think Teal is very right. She's on a path towards some sort of healing. Because if you just judge something and push it away, and others would then just, I mean, you have to sort of do that in a sense. But unless there is some sort of compassion, unless there is some sort of I mean, if you think about a person needing to heal from whatever, like they need to have some sort of compassion and not be judgmental towards themselves, to find a way to move beyond whatever pattern they are in. Otherwise, that will keep them stuck. That's how I think about it. So, but I still have a hard time. I mean, since I've seen so clearly, although maybe it's an upper layer of things, and deeper down there may be some deep sorrows or desperation or whatever, I don't know. But I've seen other sides that have been really, really, that I may have seen evil, let's say. So I'm not sure. I'm not so quick to think that, okay, they are victims, poor them. I'm not so sure about that. But at the same time, I really don't want to judge. Or rather, I don't think it's the path to heal anything. I don't see how that would help. Prevent and protect others from being exposed to certain people's actions, yes. But from there must be some sort of in that way I think she's on the right track to try to sort of understand, although I don't know if she actually understands or if it's a if it's a need and a projection from her own need. Yeah, but I think she's really enlightened, so maybe she's right. Maybe so. That was that. And also the closeness, they say, in the brain between sex and aggression, I think specifically in males. And that's also another reason why maybe you shouldn't dive too... not go into like working with possession and such related to that. Otherwise, Cernunnos, for example, one of my favorite gods, he's very much a sexual god as well, and the horned one, not the horny one, but anyways, his energy is a very sexual energy, and to be possessed by that energy, you should be careful. and others around should be really careful. So not because it's an evil or mean energy in any kind of way, just because it's very strong. And yeah, but most who work with Wicca or witchcraft don't maybe work with possession as well. But that's what that is what I was introduced to, that path. So in the Fairy Wiccan Coven. So yeah. Gosh, how do I get out of this topic now? But yeah, so anyways, I think you need to know also not only yourself but others, their preferences in sense, and their vulnerability, even if that isn't even out. I mean, they may not be aware of it fully, or may have shared about it. So to work like that with someone else, that takes huge trust, and you should know yourselves very, very, very well, and each other very well. And even then, I think it can be, risky. So I'm not sure that, but yeah, I wanted just to. That was much about that, as if that is like the. But there is another thing in witchcraft and in this on this path of paganism overall, that it embraces sexuality as something holy and sacred and beautiful, and yeah, just as something to celebrate, like the late life force, aside from shaming it and all this strangeness. So yeah, and that is something I think is wonderful. And that we need to heal. We really need to heal that. In society, it's maybe over-sexualized in some ways also. But I mean, just to come back to that natural, to see this, the life itself, the sacredness of life, and that is part of it. So, yeah. And to celebrate that, as we do in those 8 Sabbats during the year, the sacred rite, or so on, the great rite, it's called, and so on. And you can do that symbolically as well, but it's a celebration of this energy as well, as we actually do on Midsummer and all that. That's the maypole and everything, but we don't pretend as if it is that, but we celebrate. So in that sense, though, it's like hidden in plain sight. Yeah. So yeah, I wonder what more to say. I wonder. Magic. Maybe I've talked for too long, but and yeah, and that is something I also myself needed very much to heal. So this path has been very healing to me in many ways, and still is. So yeah. But also some people may assume that it is like those orgies with, I don't know, like Bacchus or this Dionysus, which I also like, with wine and orgies. But that's not, I've never heard about anything like it. But maybe it is somewhere, I don't know. But then everyone must be very, very aware then for that to not go wrong. But I think in some people's minds, that's what they hear and see when they think about those covens. And also earlier, nowadays, people aren't usually sky-clad or naked in practices. I think there's some group that still do maybe, but mostly they have robes of sorts with some natural material so that energy easily can pass through the... Yeah. Anyways, in the coven I was in, that was not the case. as with they work with the Celtic, and the only time they were naked were when they were in battle, and as they supposed, I mean, they looked at themselves as being dead already, so they didn't take any clothes. They went in with fearlessness. Yeah, so yeah. It was much focus on that. I just rambled away, but yeah, that was just the things that have occurred in my life and the way I see them. But I don't know what else to say about that, really. Just that no, nothing else really about that, but yeah. But that's one, as I said, it's one super powerful magic, since it's a very powerful energy. But it's as I said, it's the same energy that go through various of the chakras or various energy centers or so on. So it's the same life force or same life energy, depending on how you let it come forth and be expressed. And you can obviously let that energy get expressed in many other kinds of ways, and therefore also work magic in any kinds of other ways. Yeah. And even though it's not like I don't know, those I don't know, series of witchcraft series that you do, that they are like I don't know what they do exactly. I haven't seen many of those, but anyways, still it is more efficient and potent than you would believe. It's really far from imagination. It's very, very strong. Yeah, and it can be, depending also how much you train it. So, and I did say that probably last time also when I went into talking about witchcraft and Wicca. But Wicca is a religion, and witchcraft is the practice of magic, while many in Wicca use magic or witchcraft. So it's the craft, it's the practice. Yeah. And another thing with magic is that I worked mainly through my mind earlier, and since that was very efficient, so I didn't really bother too much about other things. And also I was not very grounded in my own body, so I also lazy probably. But about the whole craft as a craft, like other kind of crafts that you can do. But so when it comes to that, I've also realized some years ago how that influences you when you actually do a symbolic craft of that thing you want to manifest or realize, because it becomes physical then. Even though it's not the actual thing, it still comes into the physical in a different way than if you just work with your mind. So it brings you it becomes like a stronger affirmation to yourself as well as about your spell or what you're doing, the magic you're working. It becomes an imprint that is pretty strong in you. It's not just the things you project out, but it's a strong confirmation in you, whether you use scents or anything that actually make an imprint in your senses. That will help strengthen that spell. Yeah. And especially if it's aligned with that certain vibration of the thing you wish to achieve or accomplish or realize then. Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to Wicca, it's very much about reverence, and so the god and the goddess can also be very. It doesn't have to be like personalized. It could be like yin and yang, or it can be. I worked with that for a long while. The first guide that I met when I was one of the first, I guess, anyways, was Taoist one. That was one who showed me certain things, and I read Tao Te Ching oftentimes, that like a Bible. Also, I read this Ethics by Spinoza like a Bible. Other time, I mean, it was long after that, but still, I've had other books as Bibles, let's say, or rather like reminders and mantras or things that made me feel good. And I guess because I read that, this Taoist master showed up and told me certain things. So it's about this polarity and working with that, honestly. But anyways, so it's about embracing life and the earth herself, and our own life and life force as well, and this respect for both our own nature, but also nature herself and the cycles of the nature and all that. That felt so. I just needed that groundedness, and that's not maybe the first thing people think about when they may hear witchcraft, but to me that is what it is. And yeah. And as I said also, that it's not just a male, that's kind of the most common, Western at least, and it's everywhere, I guess, maybe, but the mother and the earth and the female aspect of the divine, to connect with that really changes things. So, but it took quite a while for me, though, to actually do that. It was really difficult. The ones that I could connect with was like also Morgan fighting like Pudasia, kind of. As I said, or maybe I didn't say, but I was about to say, when I was younger, some people saw me as this Dina. It was a film. I was really like fierce, and some have called me Sina, the warrior princess, and so I was like, as I said, I had some rage going, but I also was kind of sweet. I meant well, I really did, but I was very cut off in myself, and also did my best to help do that with various means, but yeah, it took a while for me, but to begin with, it was those Durga I've been called also, and she who kills demons. But I was drawn to Kali and those kinds. Those were the only ones, and it was not that I was drawn to their sort of aggressive side. I was drawn to the strong protection that would include. That was what I felt with them. I never felt that would be scary. I never felt any of that when it comes to those deities. They always feel very protective to me. But then, I've also worked with Freya a bit, and also there got those extremely strong responses and quick and amazing, as on every path. I mentioned in some last video about this, the responses in when I went into the Christian path, but it have been the same whatever. It's like, as I said, it's about what filters it comes through to, so it doesn't really in a way matter, and it's not unreal. I don't think it is unreal at all. It's the divine have, or the spirit can express itself in so many ways, and we are we are also that expression ourselves in a way. So and the spirit realm can also come through in so many ways, and one is not better than another. We can connect with a certain facet of God, let's say that way, or God is at a certain time, and that may be what we need at the time also. It doesn't say that that is the truth in itself, or that it is at least the whole, and it's not untrue either. It's just what suits us at the time and what works at the time. So yeah. So the way we can understand it the best, and the way it's like if we pretend like some universal mind, the unlimited creative universe and the consciousness would like talk to us, and it knows. That would be then that would then have like all kinds of languages, and all kinds of languages that weren't even known. I don't know, unlimited. That's like the essence. So that can choose any kind of way to reach us, and do so. I do believe. I do believe that it uses any kind of means all the time to actually communicate with us. Then whether or not we pick it up, that's another thing. But so, and that is also why all these names and forms of the goddess and the gods, since there are multiple in Wicca or witchcraft worked with often, that's not a problem, because that's and some people it differs also there how others see it, but to me that's what it is. Whatever you can name as I think that is in the Tao Te Ching. Then the name is not whatever is it. I don't know it by heart, this book, but it's not the true name. Like it's beyond grasp. We can't contain, or we can't we can't limit this unlimitedness to something and call it really that thing. But we can use those. We can use both ourselves in our reflections that we see in our worlds and everything to learn and to understand more of this. Yeah, oh gosh, that's difficult to talk about with words as well. But anyways, that's really not the problem. The whole that there are so many, although it can be really confusing if you come from a tradition where there is one God and this is this and it's very defined, and then maybe it needs a devil or something then to because it's difficult to describe the other things that goes on if we didn't have the opposite then. But if we come from that tradition, which many of us do, then from the beginning it can be pretty confusing until it's not. But it's understandable that it is. Yeah, and also as this was now this Sunday, I guess, that was about these 13 days, or what it's called in English, I don't know. But with those 3 wise men who followed the star and found Jesus then born in what it's called, stable? No, I don't know. Anyways, that's the same story as with Mithras, the sun god who was born. It was also 3 wise men following a star founding Mithras like that. So I mean, if you look into many of those kind of, it's nothing wrong. It doesn't take away from the truth of any of them really. It's just filters. It's just the reality of it all. It is still there, and the divine will communicate with us in ways we do understand. So, or find its ways to reconnect ourselves with the core of who we actually are. But also in witchcraft now, going back to that, or Wicca, it depends traditions, I guess. And I'm not sure even that I don't think that everyone who works witchcraft even connected with spirituality in the sense of and the sense that I speak about at all. I think some just do the craft. That's what they do. They don't connect it with the way of viewing things as such. They believe in the power of influencing with the craft, obviously. But yeah. But also this, there is this saying about the triple goddess with also representing the moon phases, the maiden, mother, and crown. You may have heard. And then the god is then often connected to the sun. Yeah, called Lord of the Dance, among other things. And they are not opposing powers, these yin and yang, rather complementary. But also in Wicca, I didn't go into this much last time, which I should have done then, but still this relates much to magic, obviously, also. So in Wicca, there is this ethic. That's the only kind of moral code. It says, do as thou will, but harm none. And that's a good thing. As I said, as far as you don't know your own power and that you aren't pushed too far. And you can't make maybe any promises, but you still can have that aim, that intent, that aspiration. Yeah. So I think that's very beautiful, and I'm glad that I was taught in such a tradition. Although if I were to teach it to someone, I would not probably teach. Although now I don't think about teaching this as Wicca, rather witchcraft actually. But so I don't know. Actually, I would want to include it if I would work with people face to face, because then you actually, or rather, even if it was online, but if it was like in live videos or so on, if we were doing rituals even online together, I would then want to include that perspective. But as now, just sharing information, and so although I have been very hesitant doing that, because I know it can be worked equally much in a not bad way, but it will always, as I think of it, still boomerang back to that person worst who do, which is also not a good thing. So it's like I want to protect those also. Anyway, so yeah. And with that concept in Wicca, it's a very wide concept that can be interpreted in any kind of way. Many are vegetarians, to not do harm, and many, there are various ways, but and it's up to each and everyone to find their own perspective on that, and not anyone would tell you not to eat meat, for example, or that it would be bad, or hopefully not. But many have that perspective though. But you must find your own your own moral and your own ethics. So yeah. So to not, to not hurt anyone, whatever you mean by that then. So And Wicca is unrelated to those book religions like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and also Satanism, which is related to all those religions descended from the supposed historical bargain between Abraham and Jehovah, which is then recorded in their Bible. So they believe in certain common things that Wicca or witches generally maybe not believe in, like the final judgment. Not at least in this. That is part of tarot, for example. But then I guess Wiccans can interpret these stories and also like allegories, or like if they would use those terms as symbolic for certain things. But anyways, and that is also in those mystical traditions within these book religions. I think that can be quite related though. But anyways, that the god can be very jealous and vengeful and so on, and that the humanity carry this original sin, like basic sinfulness of sorts. That is also a concept that is not so in paganism. Also, oftentimes there is this superiority of the male sex, which is opposed in most pagan traditions, I guess, but certainly in Wicca, where the goddess is like the they are complementary, but the goddess is the source. Yeah, she's like the greatest, you could say, the mother. And also in shamanism or monarchy, that is the same. That is like and it is very natural to see it that way, actually, when you go back to those native paths that lived closer to Mother Earth, and that's so natural, because that, yeah, I won't go into that, but still, yeah. And also those ideas of hell and like this place of eternal torture and stuff. That's nothing that exists in the worldview of Wiccans. And also not that books, whether it's like the Bible or the Quran or the Satanic Bible or the Talmud or whatnot, that those were that those are like holy books in the sense that nothing can be wrongly interpreted or whatever, while I mean they claim like that they were written by God, I guess, or maybe Satanic Bible, but I don't know who that was written by, but and this is very far from Wicca, where everyone also, as I mentioned, the Book of Shadows, make their own book of their own practices and the way of viewing things and experience. It's an experimental religion also. You know it through your experience of it. You don't learn it in a different way, like this is truth and this is not, and so on and so forth. You can learn certain practices, but when it comes to Wicca and when it comes to shamanism, and so it's experimental, and it's also a very individual path. It's your experiences, so no one else can really say what's right for you in that. So yeah, so the paganism and those book religions have very different history and very different origin and way of seeing things. But as I said, the mysticism in all of these paths, they are very relatable to me anyways. Yeah, as I mentioned, I've been married to Sufi, and I was pretty much into Wicca at the time and so on, and we never, I mean, I could totally embrace how he saw things, and he could embrace my way of seeing things. It was no problem. So yeah, yeah. it says they sometimes also describe it as a mountain, like as at the base there are those dogmas and stuff where you can't really understand how someone at the other side of the mountain see it. You can't see it. It's hidden from your view, and the further up you come, the closer those things will come together, and at the top they are actually equally, and they are the same. It's just semantics, that differs. And when it comes to that, that's what semantics do. That's what words do. That's why I love Zen. Because words in themselves, they are aimed to do that. To separate and define things and stuff. And yeah. So, yeah. And also then combined with a lot of fears and all stuff, we add to words. And then that becomes like a blockage system that makes us not understand each other very well. So, yeah. So, as I said before, and I write it beneath also, I will not read or respond to comments as for now. Maybe later. Way later. I don't know. Because now I like it like this. But I would like to still. I mean, I would love to hear your comments and your maybe if you had questions or different opinions also and all kinds of things. But for now, this is the calmest way to do it for me. So I will just keep it like this, for a while at least. Maybe if I get... maybe I should put it on like this, that when I get this or that many subscribers, I will start reading comments. Should I? Far away then, like I don't know, maybe thousands of subscribers. Yeah, if I get thousands of subscribers, I'll read the comments. Not that I care about how many subscribers I have. It's just it would just be. But maybe I will read them before then also, because I am curious, but maybe not. And maybe I will never get that, so sometime in my life, or I will probably hopefully read them. Anyway, so, yeah. But it's a journey. This is a journey, and it is a very individual journey, because also when you... as I said, in Wicca or in Witchcraft also, there are so many different practices that you can learn about. So you can't learn everything at once, and also you will probably be drawn to certain things and maybe not so much at all to certain other things or practices. And that's great. Maybe you become an expert at a certain thing, and that is what you totally focus on. And so you can't say that this is the same. It's a path. It's a spiritual path, as I see it. At least Wicca. Witchcraft is, as I said, the craft of magic. So, yeah. But it will change you if you, especially I guess if you train with someone who have walked this path beforehand, so you can, who can guide you a little bit, and give you exercises or so that you can do to move further if you wish to, and so and in that, on that path, you will connect with your soul, your spirit, your higher self, and also those different subtle bodies and the chakras, aura, and so on, as I said, and also become more familiar with your psychic skills. And it will become natural also. That's not so far-fetched as it may seem to some of you, but like clairvoyance and psychometry, as I talked about, divination, those kinds of things. Yeah. So, and there is a Wicca is also, I think the word is, I don't remember now exactly. There are different ideas about what that would stem from or the exact meaning of it. but I think it could mean like to bend or something like that, and that is also what you do in a way. You bend your destiny, and that's also what you do in shaman working. So yeah. And you have to face your fears. That's unavoidable if you walk this path. Yeah. And it will challenge you and it will transform you. So, but if you walk it alone as a solitary, there are many books about solitary Wiccanism, if you call it that. But I think it's difficult, though. I mean, I am so happy that I have had teachers during my path, different teachers, and came across different things at different times. That was perfect for me at the time. But without that and just trying to do it alone, I think I would get stuck very often and not... I mean, you need to have a super strong motivation and really keep it going then, and go all in with your full intent, because, or commitment. Yeah, you really need that to get most out of it, honestly, and to realize the value of it. So if possible, if there is anyone you trust as a teacher, and or a group or so on, but you should be careful with that too. You should really trust yourself and follow what feels right for you. But then I would suggest to do that. I mean, you get much further, easier and quicker and less bumpy or confused road. So yeah. So I guess there is so much to talk about when it comes to this. So I assume that I will use at least a year to dive deeper into witchcraft then. And in Wicca also we become, as I said about my high priestess, and also I met there was a high priest. There were several high priests actually, and the high priestess in that coven, by the way. But she was like the leader, and I met also the high priest, the witch Michael, the Australian witch who initiated her. But that's how far, I don't know. I think he initiated himself. So the tradition so far back wasn't long, but still it was still a tradition, and they were very careful to keep it. I mean, she was, I think, mainly, she was pretty structured like that. And that was good for me, as being pretty unstructured. and she still had learned a lot from those larger traditions in Wicca. I studied some, so yeah, it was... yeah. What happened then when you get initiated or ordained first, but when you got initiated, then you became a Wiccan priestess, or priest if you were male then. So since then, since like I was, what was I then, 20, I don't know exactly age. Actually, I know the date and everything somewhere, but I don't know it now by heart. But it was somewhere after 25, and I don't know what exact age there that I actually was initiated. But yeah, so and I've always known that, okay, that's how I've seen it, that I'm a priestess. And now I also have, for long, the spirit guides have told me, oh gosh, you're a high priestess, you should teach. And not they don't say, oh gosh, it's my interpretation of them, but they have told me to teach. And I've done briefly when someone asked me and so on. But yeah. So, and it doesn't mean that you are above others, that you call yourself that. It's just that you teach. But so I thought about it as a beautiful path, a bright, beautiful path with good intent. Nothing like mean-spirited or evil in it, so yeah, just beautiful. So yeah. And also the fact that I think about the divine, and also many pagans maybe do, as in everything, and therefore also all paths can lead to the divine. And I mean, in nature as well. Yeah. As it cannot ever be disconnected from it. It is it. Yeah. I will go maybe back into that someday. So and as Frank Zappa said, I mentioned, or I had that on my Facebook now yesterday. It was someone else who linked it, so I copied it. I don't remember it now, but like for a mind to work, it needs to, or something like that. It needs to be like a parachute. It's like my mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it's not open. I think it is, and that's the aim, not to limit your perceptions and your mind to these kinds of concepts, because they are, obviously. We use different methods or different things to also practices, and also myths, not the least. Myths are awesome. They can really, you can read them and you don't understand them, and suddenly you see what they are saying, but it needs to grow from within, so that the truth pops up in your face, so to speak. It's not, if someone stood there and taught you and said, well, this and this it means, and then it would not have that impact on you. You would not have that insight, So the aim is not to get stuck with any kinds of ideas. It's to open you up, and to beautiful path, and to magic, which is also, to me, magic is nothing dark and horrible. It could be used in all kinds of ways, but to me it's so beautiful, amazing. It's like the best thing in life. So yeah. And it's to be attuned with the divine, and not the least in ourselves, and to get acquainted with it. And sometimes maybe we work, that is also a difference, that many pagans or Wiccans and so on work with a deity of sorts for a while. Maybe they also keep some for always, like more or less active in working with them or in communication and so. But and also, by the way, no, keep going with that. I can't just change subject all the time. But so, it's not a problem to work with a different deity, or even from a different culture, if that is what you're drawn to at the time, or want to explore, or want to learn more from. That's what you need at the time, and that's not a conflict in that. They're not bothered. Maybe if you, as I said, work in the same ritual with very different spiritual energies and deities and so on, that could make clash maybe, and I don't think you should try. But when it comes to what you prefer, that's like, you are a free person to explore what you're drawn to. And also personally, when it comes to those, I don't feel that I've chosen them. They have very much chosen me, and they are very clear about that. That's not a choice. They know pretty much what I need the most, and they will show me that, and they will come forth when I need them, and in the form that I need. So so it's far from all these. I mean, there are a lot of psychological things about this also when it comes to the shamanic and so on. You can minor anything down to just being a sort of not that that must be, I mean, that is potent in itself and have impact a lot. So it's not bad, but my experience is way different. It's not, this is really alive as much as Mother Earth is alive, and not only alive but conscious. It's a consciousness, and these gods and goddesses and so on, they are also very much there. It's not. They are not made up. Like, they have their own intent, and they want to assist you. So yeah, they choose you rather than the opposite around. But then again, if you're drawn to something and drawn to learn more about something or so on, then there is a purpose there. Maybe they are calling you. So yeah, but they will show up either way and tell you what they want. So yeah. And also the harmony of life and nature and so on, and caring for her, that's like very much a part of this. Yeah, and as I said, you can work with a lot, both in the seen and the unseen world, and with plants and herbs, and also totems and those kinds of things are part, but also stones or crystals and those nature spirits, as I talked about, like fairies or so on. But yeah, you use magic and meditation and rituals and so on to also develop yourself, your awareness. Yeah. So I think I've mentioned then a few things. Yeah, and there is also a saying about, I think that's a good practice, a year and a day. Maybe I should do this for a year and a day then. And then, I mean, that's just the basics. But maybe I should do that here. But when it comes to those, there are often 3 grades, or maybe an ordination before, and maybe a certain initiation into a high priest or high priestess if you want to teach after the 3rd grade. But anyways, it's taught about those grades that it would take at least a year and a day to go through that. And I think that is good practice. Just also beforehand, maybe, if you're interested in and clueless, let's say, if you feel that this may be interesting to you, then probably you need to learn a little bit about the basics and so on, and really question things and read and wonder and ask and so, and see, and really take time to discover if this path is for you, because it's demanding too. It really is. It's not a path for super lazy persons. I mean, it doesn't really give much then, I guess. So you have to be invested in it, and also know Wiccan would push it onto you. It will be by your own. You will have to be the motor, and and kind of crave it. So if not, you won't be just served. Like, here you are, here you go. Although I will share some basics around that, but it's not like teaching. Still, it's just sharing certain things. And also you still have to have the patience to listen to these, if so whatever. But yeah, I think that's a good practice though. So that you have time to really wonder, do I want to step onto this path? You can of course then leave or go in another direction, or include whatever you want in it. But still you have really thought it through. And when you then practice also the basics and so on, then that also is for a year and a day and so on and so forth. And that's really good reasons for that. and it's not to it's not meant to create hierarchies or so. It's about, as I said before, it's about how much you are able to do. And if you work together with those who are very at the beginning working with energy, then those who are really advanced will have to kind of pull the other's energy very much. So it will be more efficient work for them to work with those at the same level, who have developed the same skills and abilities, or at least at the same level, maybe different ones, but still, yeah. When it comes to working with energy, more so, yeah. So, yeah. And there are many things. I guess I will have to talk more about magic, that's what I will talk about mainly, I guess, for a long time now, then, if I keep going with this. But I think so, what it is and not, and how to use it and all that. There is, it's endless, and you can find a lot about that. That is maybe probably described in better ways than I can. But there are many other things involved in that, so that I will go through with you if you wish me to. But even if you don't wish me to, but then you don't have to listen, which is awesome. So yeah, I will kind of teach. I will at least share things and some exercise and so on, how to develop your psychic and magical skills as well as some spells probably. And so examples, you can always create and develop your own, of course. But it's good to have some basics, yeah. And how to connect, and certain words also that are become so natural and common if you work with these, and for others they have never heard those words. They don't know what it means. So yeah. Yeah, what else? Yeah, so, and much about this when it comes to, working magic, obviously, but also about just celebrating life. When those espats, which are the moon phases, or the celebrations of the full moon, for example, or so, or new moon, those meetings, if there you can use them as working magic on the phases of the moon, of course, but also to celebrate the path we are in and on, and life itself together, So it's very beautiful in that sense. Yeah, and to experience this, how can I say? To really talk to them, and they to you, and to develop the skill to experience that. That is something else than just imagining something maybe hearing you if you send a prayer. Although that was really powerful also beforehand, but still. Yeah. Yeah. Shall I say something else now? There is so much to be said. But what the aim is, mainly in Wicca at least, or in if you see it as a spiritual path, it is to develop our awareness and also our higher powers, our abilities of the soul, so to acknowledge those and both explore but also develop them. So yeah. So there are many ways I mean, I could describe a whole lot of things, but I haven't planned it, of course. So, yeah. But I hope you got some basics now. Yeah. And the way I describe it does not mean that if you experience this path or anything else in a total different way that it must be wrong. That's your perspective, and as it says here, you don't have to deny something to validate something else. So I'm not opposed, like whatever perspective yours are. Yeah. So, but it's about practice and the efficiency of that, of course, with magic and spellcraft and so, but also even more so, I think, about personal growth and a spiritual growth. So, and there is a lot of theories around this that you can learn, and that I could find and read some maybe, because that's fun also. All the esoteric literature and also occult knowledge and so on, that is very interesting. And you know, the concept of as above, so below, and all those kind of things that are very common in these fields, let's say. I mean, most people use certain expressions like that and kind of know what it means. Some know what it means, some maybe don't. But and working with this electromagnetic energy and so on, and yeah, and how to do that. You can do it like in different ways. So I think I won't go deeper into that now. There is so much, but mainly the mind is the most important thing, and the workings with energy and how you do that. But then you can add outer things, but it doesn't really, it's not really needed to work magic to have those outer objects or additional things, but they can strengthen a spell or so, but it is not needed for something to be really efficient anyway. It's more so about your focus and intent, so and your training to work with energy and know energy, so that you know what you're doing. Yeah. And in that also emotions, by the way, is a very, when it comes to raising energy for maybe I didn't say that, but emotions is a strong energy, and you raise your emotions as well, so that they get stronger, and that is the way to raise energy. And of course, the more emotionally invested you are into whatever your aim is, the more energy you will have towards your goal. So you can't be really disconnected from your emotions and working energy well. So, and you can't be disconnected from your mind either. But yeah, So, but you have to become aware of energy to work with energy. Otherwise, you don't know what to do. I know there are those who want me to teach them, and they still don't want to work with energy. They kind of want me to give them some papers that says how here it is, and then they read them and then they know. But that's not how it goes. You have to practice and work with energy and get to know energy. That's the only way. And I don't know how to express that in other ways, but they don't have the time and get like as if you took something from them, like as if you could give it, but it's not possible. They have to train it. They have to become aware of the energy. That's the only way they can work it. Otherwise, they have no clue what they do. So yeah. So, and also, and a way to get aware of that is to be able to shift your consciousness level, and working with meditations and so will help you learn how to do that, to go into those other brainwave states, and also to be able to see things and to shift that easily in between those states without like much effort or time to do so. From the beginning, maybe you need some practice to do that, but yeah. So yeah, and candles, of course, is a very common tool in candle magic. Then chords is also very important. Not important, but very common. And chanting and so on. Anything that works for you, and the less complicated you do it from the beginning is best, because otherwise you will be sidetracked by all you should think about, and things that help you shift consciousness. That's the aim. And it depends so much on you. So it's nothing that is the best way. It is the best way that is the way that works for you. So, and you learn how that goes by practicing. So, yeah. So you got to experience. Even if I give some examples to come on things you may be able to do and so on, but there are also bunches out there already. But it's about you need to be open and dare to experiment, and also combine techniques and so on, so that it serves you the best, And when it comes to karma also, by the way, in Wicca there is this threefold law, as it's called. Like, it means like that it comes back to you more so than you send it out. The energy have become stronger, like this boomerang thing. When you send it out, it may not have the same forces when it smack you back. So, but it doesn't have to be like exactly 3 times or whatnot. But yeah, so if you wouldn't want to receive what you send out, then probably it would be very good if you could avoid sending it. Yeah. And this word higher self sounds also weird to some, but it's just connecting with your soul, your greater self, could you call it? Your awareness. Yeah. Your greater awareness than your personality minor self. Or spiritual self, you maybe could call it. But you need to kind of connect with that also. Yeah. Because you work from that level of your being. So, and like a muscle, it grows stronger when you use it. The ability to connect and those through regular meditations and those psychic exercises and so on, you will strengthen the connection with your awareness and your soul. And as I said, meanwhile, subconscious things may pop up and so on. So you have to take it also slow if you feel that it pushes it too far or too roughly. So, yeah. And you need to concentrate. That in itself is an ability to develop. To be able to hold that energy also. To not make it, dissipate. No, but yeah. You have to hold the focus strong until you have built the energy up, until you want to release it. So, yeah. So the more you go into it with all you are, the stronger effect it will have, of course. Yeah. And also there are a lot of other practices you can do too. I mentioned a lot about the aura and so on before, which is helpful. But also like ritual baths and all those kinds of things. And also robes can be a good practice. Just so you show yourself that this is a holy space or a time. And here, now I do something entirely different. I wash all of the other things off and cleanse myself to be present doing this. It can really be helpful to do in whatever way you do that. Cleanse yourself and cleanse your area before you practice magic. And also grounding, of course. You need to, as I said, be aware of how to work with energy, especially not to have energy lingering with you. If you let's say summon or open up to a lot of energy, you need to also know how to release that energy. If you don't want it to stay with you, it can be very stressing. And also, but both before and after working magic, actually. So that's good. So, and maybe I should go into each of these practices in detail later on, but I want just to talk about it. And to, as I said, working with your aura or shielding, it can be called. This could be a good thing as well. Yeah. It's like your spiritual energy also. Your aura, you could say. The energy of the soul. Yeah. And it's nothing, you don't have to imagine it. You really don't have to be ahead of time. If you don't experience things, you don't have to try to imagine doing so, because it will happen. You don't have to wonder about that. So even if it would take some time for you to experience certain things, don't be discouraged, and you don't have to rush it or pretend as if it did, because it still will. You don't have to, absolutely not, you will absolutely not have to pretend that is as if these things happen, because they actually do. So some people, especially when it comes to being psychic and so on, can be so self-aware, so that they try to make up things a little bit. Even if they are very sensitive and open, they still feel so, they kind of want to rush it or prove something or something, so that they go before their own ability, or before they have developed that skillfully. And that will actually just block it, and they will doubt themselves, and it will become more troublesome without any reason to actually. So be patient and yeah. And in that sense, I also think it's helpful to have it in a sort of a religious path, in a frame of that, as in with Munaki, for example. When you work shamanism, there are those who work like solitary shamans as well, not in a tradition even. And I think it helps you to have patience with yourself, to see it in a broader way, and we develop certain skills quicker, and certain things will come up after a while and so on, but they will for sure develop. So if you do these things, so, and so the way I will talk about these things now will be as if you know really nothing much at all, or I will try to remember that and not talk over your head about various things. I will probably do that anyways, because I will forget that you don't know certain just certain words and so on that you use. But I think I can recall how it was before I knew any of this, maybe. And I will try to talk to you as if you are quite new. So if you aren't, probably it will sound like talking to a baby witch then. But still, I mean that in a sweet, cute way, not like diminishing. So, yeah. And it's good to practice every day, and at the same time, if you're really in for this, then that will help it most than if you randomly do it. But yeah, you will see more results obviously then. But yeah, and also maybe 2 times a day, morning and evening, whatever suits you. That's also awesome. Yeah. So yeah, consistency. And to visualize, as I talked about many times, that's how you also know what is, that's how you validate something in the outer world. This is true, you see it, So therefore it will have an impact in your, even if you can imagine things, that's also, that have an impact. Like daydreaming about something or without seeing it, let's say, if you go into it fully, it will have an impact. But if you learn to practice visualization so that you actually see it with closed eyes, probably easiest at first, and then you can also see with open eyes, then that will really, really add to the strength of your magic. And you can develop it. It comes easier to some than for others, but still. Yeah. Yeah. And by doing just for fun, and also try to be light-hearted when you do it, or do it in a light, fun way. When you do visualizations, like listening, whatever you find also online, when you visualize certain objects or so on, and you do journeys or sorts and so on that you are drawn to, the more you start to see those with your inner eyes. I mean, if you do these practices, you will also start to see things, because we all can see things when we dream, so we have the capacity to do so. But I mean, at night or when we sleep, but to do that when you just decide to, that's a different thing. But you can develop it, and it's not difficult. It's not. But it yeah, it comes with practice. So I will get back to that. How? Yeah. Yeah, so well, aside from those things, tools that I talked about, also incenses or oils can also be very good to work in various ways. But I will get back to that. I think I will just briefly, because I've talked for super long now. I don't even know for how long. I just talk and talk and talk. And I need to stop sometime, don't I? I was sidetracked by myself there. Yeah, so. But to get it in under your conscious control. So if you, for example, if you are a medium, you pick up those things and see them, but you don't project them, so you receive them, and so it's a totally different thing. But if you work magic, you project. You can decide to see certain things, and you see them. You understand? And so yeah, but it's the same skill, but in different directions, you can say. So yeah. And also it's very good to work with some aura practices with I will figure out some. Maybe, because I have some favorites, like those I probably have some up already, maybe. But with that actually are Munaki practices, but still it cleanses and work with the aura field. So yeah. Yeah. There are so many ways. Yeah, so yeah, I will just get back to you when it comes to that, because I've talked for so long. And if you don't do these practices or ground yourself or so on, also hematite stones, as I said, I've used them a lot to ground myself. But if you don't do that, and if you keep this excess energy, it will like it will over. You will be. It will be, maybe you get headache, or maybe you'll start to feel like not so good. So you need to learn how to release energy as well, and so on. And to release it to Mother Earth, it's a good practice. But all the examples or techniques that I may show or talk about later then. And also, if you figure out your own, you can be creative on this path. This is not like dogmas. Then all of these, they can be adjusted so that whatever works for you. That's the thing, as I said before. But sometimes it's really good to get examples or like recipes, almost like do this, to not be all, oh, what should I do? How confusing, you know. So we will see. But you can also Google some of these things and find examples and try them out, and see how it works for you. Because this is not like, I won't give you full access to a whole path of, things that I've learned, but enough so that you can find your ways yourselves. And if you want to practice as a path of a spiritual path, not only practice magic, then you probably should include the communication with the deities, whatever you call them, Mother Earth or Father Sky or Sun, or if they're more personified to you or whatever. With prayers or in other ways, and because to strengthen that communication is really important. So to choose something you're drawn to, you can also work with your own higher self, so to speak, your own awareness, your own soul, as a sort of a deity, you could say. And also these four, in the four directions, the cardinal directions of the compass. It depends also how people see that, but those four elements of water, earth, air, and fire, depending on what tradition you work in, you will see them as, maybe you don't have to see them as connected to a certain cardinal direction, but still those elements is good to also have represented as you work magic. And candles, but candles is also fire, so it comes natural. All right, I will absolutely stop now. And you can also say, when it comes to the higher self, you can say that is the part of you that is in connection with the divine. That's how you can say it also. How the part that can perceive these other realms and dimensions. And you can call it your soul, or you can call it your spirit, or you can, your awareness, whatever you feel that is right for you. But still, with our not normal everyday selves, we won't probably feel or see these realms or experience them. So therefore we need to work with our consciousness. Oh, now they're renovating this or moving into our neighbors. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah. But I will stop anyways. And also about karma, by the way, about this threefold law, that everything comes back to you. Not everyone believes in that. That does witchcraft, but Wiccans generally do. But that is not, karma is not about, it's about justice, yes, but it's not about like a divine one, but it's not about punishing. It's more about balancing, and it's more about teaching, so that we learn from the things we meet. And if we haven't met them personally, maybe we don't understand. So we may need to go through certain things to actually do understand them. So that way it comes back to us like a lesson. So and you can also work with, some people work with like certain, triggers, like you can do certain things that make you connect with your magical self, let's say. You can also call that your higher self, but like do certain things. You can also have triggers like with your fingers, or you can it can be all kinds of things, like lighting candles, shifting the atmosphere to get into that focus, so I hope you got something out of this anyways. So, and what you do in magic, actually, you are the creator. You are creating, creatress. So you focus your willpower and your emotions to shape energy in the way you want, and to shape reality, actually. So in whatever aims you have, but mainly positively, hopefully, so it can be for yourself, whatever you need, and for your healing, or for your development, or for also your prosperity and stuff that are maybe seen more selfish in a way by some. And when it comes to, as I said, with the aura, it's about to keep your energy strong and to not be influenced by things you don't want to be influenced by. So you use the powers of your soul, actually, when you work magic. And we all have that. We are not always aware of it, though. And you also receive. It's not only that you can communicate. It goes both ways, obviously. So, but we will get more and more intimately connected. So we'll perceive it more strongly and clearly. So, and also we can use divinations and so on to do so before we experience it even clearer. And we can also use that afterwards for fun or for confirmation. So. I think I said most things that I wanted to say now. I don't know if you really know about this whole shifting of consciousness, but you maybe know about those brain waves where you go into different kind of it's almost like, as I mentioned, this Om sign before, that is awake, sleep, and dream state. It's like a awakened dream state, you can say, where you work magic. So you do it consciously with purpose, and you see things like in a dream, you can say, but you direct it. And as I said, you can also start doing that meanwhile you sleep in dreams. But you go beyond the veil of this three-dimensional reality, really. But even if you don't see visually in your visualizations and so on, if you start doing that, if you still concentrate or imagine very strongly onto something, it will have a strong impact still. So don't be discouraged by that. And also you will learn if you practice, and take it easy, as well as be consistent if it feels good, and also feel okay with taking a pause and break if it doesn't, or if you feel that in whatever way that does not feel good for you. I guess that is the basics of magic so far. What do you think? Very briefly. It's like, the universe itself is like this universal mind, this universal consciousness that we work with in one way or another. And all those skills are dormant in each of every one of us, and we don't know them, which is why wouldn't we use our skills, but it comes with a responsibility to use them well. Otherwise it will lash back at us, at least as I believe it. But not always. I mean, not everyone who work witchcraft think that way, but and everything vibrates, everything have a certain energy that may contradict or may add to a certain vibe, and that's what you use sort of in magic then, whether it's stones or whether it's whatever. And you can also, obviously, kind of low, I mean, what is the English word, like load a stone, but put an information into a certain object to do a certain work, like a stone or so on. So yeah, I hope you got some basics from this anyway. And also to practice to focus on yourself and understanding that is a good thing. Whatever you give to yourself, you actually give. I mean, it's a positive also to others. And if you give to others, it's positive for you, unless you feel differently about it, obviously. But you give yourself permission to actually to do something you wish, and work your magic in the direction of that wish. But hopefully, as I said, not if it would harm someone else. So if you want to practice this, just try it out and so on. The more important it is for you, then the more impact your work will have, and therefore it also is the best to do your own spells than have anyone else doing them for you. But that is not bad. But you are the ones that most want it still. So you have the strongest impact if you learn to do it yourself. But also, if you wonder, well, what should I do? And if you check into those moon phases and so on, and when it is most beneficial to do something or whatnot, then first of all, listen into what your wishes are, what you really want. And also, if it involves other people, you should be really careful. If it's like love magic or so on, it can also lash back quite some. You may not think like that a time from now, and also you want it to be by their free will, and not you don't want to be. It is not kind of love if it's more or less duped or forced in a sort of a certain way by working like that. So, but unless it includes anyone else, like in a way that you manipulate their free will, then go by your wishes or your aims, and you can make it like a wide. If you want, like, love them, for example, you can obviously start with self-love, but that is not often what you want to do then. But you can also make this expel wider than focus in on a certain person. I know it's difficult, but yeah. I mean, that is one of the things we much want, is love, basically. But whatever else it is, then try it out. Yeah, I will come back with practices that you can do. We'll see which ones. I have some in my mind right now, but I will not tell them now because I've talked for too long. So talk to you later instead. And thanks for being there. And likes. Oh, I got so many likes last time. 3. To me it's many. But also, comments, although I don't read them right now. And subscribers. I will at least read the comments when I get 1,000 subscribers, if not before. Yes. Take care for now. Much love.